What is going on, YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today we have episode 63. And as always, I have with me my boy Andrew and my friend. We had a rough weekend, didn't we? We had a rough weekend of sports, but it's not the end of the world. But it did feel like it. It sure fucking did. How are we feeling after the crazy weekend we just had?
Well, I felt great because it was the weekend of Thanksgiving. It was turkey, lots of good food, and then we had to come to a realization that Ohio State plays Michigan, and Browns play Monday Night Football, and neither one went well. So
I mean, one game was at least more fun to watch than the other.
yeah,
And it was the one that we didn't live stream. But
of course,
not a fun weekend as an
No.
Ohio State fan. We'll get to them later. I do want to start with the Browns because honestly, that was the more positive side of things. Despite the loss, it was a absolute thriller of a Monday Night Football game. Probably one of the better NFL games in general this year so far, just in terms of just the firepower, just the constant gunslinging. The Browns did losing 41-32, but not without some fireworks. Jameis Winston, let me just throw these stats out for y'all. He threw the ball nearly 60 times, by the way, 34 of 58, 497 with 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, 88.1% QB passer rating with a QBR of 76.4. Obviously, the 3 picks were not great, and 2 of those were pick sixes. One, of course, at the end of the game there, where it really sealed the deal for us and ultimately lost the game. And that's, if you want to get technical, that's why we lost the game. But there's also a lot of other things that happened in this game that did not help, including that 93-yard bomb that Bo Nix decided to throw, which was, I mean, it couldn't have been placed better. And it was just a weird, like, reaction of moments too. So again, not the worst game ever. The Browns did not defend the run very well. Jaleel McLaughlin had himself a very nice game, 84 yards on 14 carries. Did not score, but he was really helping extend drives for them, especially early on in the game, until Jameis started to really get them back in it and really made it more of a just throw fest. And Bo Nix did not have a fantastic night last night. He had a 41.4 QBR. I mean, he threw for nearly 300 yards, but 1 touchdown, which was the long bomb. But besides that one throw, Bo Nix threw 2 picks, and he did not play a fantastic game, but they had 2 receivers over 100 yards. We also had receivers that went over 100 yards, including Jerry Jeudy's career fucking night. Again, another crazy stat to go ahead and throw down. 9 catches on 13 targets for 235 yards. He could have had more if you remember. We missed him on a bomb earlier on in the game that was overthrown by about 8 to 10 yards. Had he hit him on that, Jeudy would have probably been at 300 yards exactly. That's how crazy this game was.
Yeah.
But he did score. And then Njoku had two scores as well on 9 catches. He had 17 targets for 52 yards. And Elijah Moore had another fantastic game. 8 catches, 14 targets, 111 yards. And then my boy Michael Woods had himself a nice little game. 3 catches on 5 targets for 43 yards. Chubb also received a touchdown later on in the game near the goal line, but did not get to necessarily run the ball very well. We ran the ball 23 times for 77 yards. Chubb had 21 of those yards. Jerome Ford had 41 of those, and 21 of those were on 1 run. So that just goes to show you how negatively the run game is going so far. I do want to ask this about the run game for you. Are you blaming more so Dorsey's play calling on the fact that we're not able to run the ball, or is this offensive line truly just an absolute mess to where we just can't get the run game going?
I think it's a combination of both. Because obviously the offensive line does help you get past that first level and get you those little openings that you need to get to the next level. And that allows Nick Chubb to do what he does best, and that's just shed tackles and just gets by people with his elite agility and, sidestepping and what he does.
Yeah.
But also, too, Ken Dorsey is known not to be a run heavy kind of play caller. He is more of a I'd rather throw 60 times a game than run the ball, and that's not very good for Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
So if those were to change, I would definitely look to get better offensive linemen anyways, because obviously the O-line could always use work. And I know people were saying stop blaming the O-line for this and that. Obviously, you can blame the O-line sometimes because, again, Winston sacked a couple times that he shouldn't have been sacked.
Yeah.
And again, anytime you have Nick Chubb behind the line of scrimmage, you work your ass off to try and give him some kind of room to run through. So I do blame the O-line for just not giving him the opportunities that he should get. But I also blame Ken Dorsey for not giving him any opportunities, just period.
Yeah.
This is your guy. This is a guy who came back. He wants to work hard. He wants to get back onto the field. He's blessed to be back, he said in an article earlier. Because obviously with that injury, we didn't know if he was ever going to return to football ever again.
Yeah.
There's some big questions there. So, but Ken Dorsey's just too much of a pass-heavy machine. If this was a Kevin Stefanski calling the plays, we'd probably be running a little bit more than we are because, again, Stefanski is more opposite. He's more run-heavy first and then more of a play-action style court guy after. And I don't think we will find any success until we go back to that.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you want to go back to Jameis next year. You want Nick Chubb to get more touches because you win more games when Nick Chubb does well. And you can't do that unless you fire Ken Dorsey.
No. And honest to God, I think a former Browns quarterback that would have really thrived in this offense would have been Baker.
Mm-hmm.
This is the offense that Baker would have had his first few years here. Had he had that, Baker would have had a lot more success, I think, because there's still that sort of play action my mindset. But
yeah,
this is the type of offense that he ran in college. Like this is what he needed, and that's kind of what they're doing in Tampa Bay right now. So it does suck now that we have this offense now instead of having what we did for so long. But for what we have, it would make more sense. I think the Browns knew going into this year that the run game was not going to be the highlight because of the unknown of Nick Chubb and not knowing how long he was going to be out for and really what he was going to be. And to be honest, I'm a little upset that he only got 9 carries, but I genuinely don't think the Browns are really trying to overload him at this point of the season because
there's no point.
I mean, we're out of it, and you
Yeah.
you can't risk him getting hurt at all anyway. So to that degree, I definitely understand it, and I'm not upset with that. I think we all just want to see Chubb back in action. But as we were talking about this morning, I really want the Browns to bring back Nick Chubb and clean everybody else out of the running back room besides maybe Naheem Hines, who's just been out this year. Say if you want to bring him back for, return, per purposes and stuff, that's fine. But I think you should go out and draft a running back in this draft. I think this is a draft where getting a running back in the second to fourth round is going to be very much available and very much a significant upgrade. And I think if you can bring Chubb in and have a young guy like that, of one of the many talented running backs that are going to be in this draft, I think that could be very good for him. And I think if you want to bring in another free agent, that's fine. But it can't be a guy who's going to battle out for the first spot. Like it has to be sort of a running back 2 or 3, have him be the 2 until the rookie gets sort of thrown in there a little bit more. But you can do the same thing with receiver. And I think with the receivers playing the way they are, let's get into this now. Is Jerry Jeudy a legit wide receiver 1? Because a lot like Cooper last year, as soon as we change quarterbacks, as soon as Watson's out of the fucking picture, your actual wide receiver one starts to go bananas. I mean, he had a career night last night. Elijah Moore is stepping up huge under Winston. But is Jerry Jeudy a legit one or what?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was his problem in Denver too, was that in Denver he never had a good quarterback.
No.
He had Drew Lock for a year or two, and then he had
Trevor Siemian, I think.
Trevor Siemian. I think Jarrett Stidham was there too at one point. Mm-hmm. And then Russ Wilson was the worst he's ever been. So he never had good quarterback play. And then, if anything, all the balls were going to Courtland Sutton anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he was getting the majority of the targets regardless. He was getting minimal targets. I think he would thrive in the Broncos offense now if he had Bo Nix. Yeah. And if he were to stay in Denver, he would have had a better career now. But I think he needed to go somewhere where he could have been a true number one, like Cleveland, and just be a true number one, give him a decent quarterback like Jameis, and look at him, 235 receiving yards. Incredible. I mean, it is like you said, it's the same last year with Amari Cooper. You gave him a good quarterback finally, and Joe Flacco, his first game or whatever, the first couple games together, he had 200 yards against the Texans. Yeah. And that's all it takes is just finally a guy who's competent enough to throw me the ball and hit me on deep shots where I'm open. So it's just good, competent QB play and just taking the chances and hitting on those chances, in which they did. Like you said, they almost connected on another 75-yard play. And if Jameis would have hit him, he would have had 300 yards receiving. So I think Jerry Jeudy is definitely a true number one. He just needed to go somewhere like Cleveland where he was the true number one, which is why you got rid of Amari Cooper, which I think was the right thing to do. And you made a young Jerry Jeudy the number one. He's thriving right now because since week 8, when Jameis Winston took over, Jerry Jeudy is now number one in the NFL in receiving yards since week 8 at almost 600 receiving yards. So that tells you he only had barely 200 yards under Deshaun Watson. And here he is with nearly 600 in 4 weeks with Jameis Winston?
I'm pretty sure he had more yards in this game alone than he did under Watson combined.
He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And that's a math, and that's 7 weeks of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
7 weeks. Barely even hit 200 yards. Had 230 in one game with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not enough of an outlier to tell you that the problem is Deshaun Watson, then I can't tell you what the problem is anymore because you're just too stupid to fucking understand it.
Yeah, you're too much of a dick rider for Watson to really see the bigger picture here. And it's not that big of a picture. It's just reality.
Yeah. It's more than a reality.
It's fact.
It's just fact.
The point is fact.
And the thing is, Deshaun Watson finally played a full 17 games. Is 3 years here now?
Yeah.
And he's barely even thrown for 1,000 yards in those 3 years.
It's fucking insane.
Brother, you're talking about Jameis Winston now, who has thrown for 5,000 yards in one full season, and you played one full season in 3 years and barely thrown 1,500 yards in total in those 3 years in Cleveland.
I mean, let's look at Jameis's current. Let's see his current passing right now. He is currently 141 for 230, about a 61.3 completion percentage, 1,763 yards, 11 touchdowns, 7 picks. So, I mean, the picks suck, but he has a QB rating of 88.4. His longest is the 89-yard bomb to Jeudy against the Saints. And the funny part about this game was after Bo Nix threw that 93-yard bomb to Mims, we came back the next play, and Jameis throws that 70-yarder to Jeudy. I mean, literally that first down, it was play action. He beat him instantly. That poor Wallace kid for Denver was getting chewed alive by Jeudy. and even Elijah Moore. That's why Moore had such a great game as well. But they ate him alive. They attacked him so much in this game, and I don't know why they didn't put Surtain on Judy more, because
Yeah.
it probably would have helped them a lot more in this game. But it's the highs and lows with Winston. And this is kind of the next thing that I want to discuss. Again, the three picks in this game, 2 pick sixes. One at the end of the game that really hurt us. The first one wasn't detrimental because it was so early on in the game and we came back.
Yeah.
The next drive, he drove us down right before half, and we scored with Chief, I think.
Yeah, it was David Njoku.
It was just a great, okay, that didn't hurt us because we responded. When you respond, it doesn't hurt you as bad. Towards the end of the game, he's trying to force it to Chief near the sideline. It gets picked and it's gone. Or no, it was thrown near Judy's side, I think, and it was picked. And it was just kind of a weird play, and game over. But that's the highs and lows of Winston. So here's the question. Are you willing to accept that and deal with that going into next year? Because, again, we are all in the big picture saying Watson's out or Watson is not it.
Yeah.
So if you bring back Winston and you say, hey, Winston is going to be the starter, are you okay with that, knowing the fact that he's going to throw his picks, he's going to have these games, but he's going to keep you in these games every single time?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing that if we were to keep Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is the same exact way. Joe Flacco is going to throw his picks, but he's going to keep you in games. He's going to throw for 330 yards per game too, and throw for 3 touchdowns as well as 3 picks. But he'll keep you in the game and keep games close, and you'll score 20 to 30 points a game. It's the same thing with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston will score you like he scored 32 last night. But you know what he'll do? Yeah, he'll throw those 3 picks, but he threw for 4 touchdowns and he threw for near 500 yards. So I would rather have that than the guy who throws 1 pick, 1 touchdown on 165 yards, and you're losing to the Giants, 24-7. I'd rather lose 41-32 on a guy who could throw for 3 picks, 500 yards, than a guy who can't throw for 200, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and then gets sacked 12 times because he decides to run into pressure.
Yeah.
And
he cannot read a field, basically.
No. So, yeah, I would rather have a guy who gets the ball out quickly. He's getting the ball out. I think I saw this stat. He's getting the ball out 0.63 seconds faster than Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson took 5 or so seconds to get the ball out. Jameis Winston's taking not even 4 seconds to get the ball out. So
it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's big when it comes to the average play is anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Compared to these games to Deshaun Watson games, Jameis Winston was only sacked 3 times. Deshaun Watson was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL before he got injured. Jameis Winston didn't even come close to that yet in the same amount of time. They both played 7 weeks now. Jameis Winston has been sacked 2 times less than Deshaun Watson. Why? Because he's getting the ball out faster. He's reading the defenses quicker. He's reading his reads faster. And if you haven't seen the Hard Knocks episode yet, it's the O-line coach yelling, "Hey, can you get the fucking ball out quickly? Thank you." And Jameis is like, "I got you. I can get the ball out quickly," and he has been. So yes, I would be okay with the 3 interceptions, knowing that we would be in every single game. And even now, knowing that if Jameis were to have started week 1, we're probably sitting at a chance at a wild card spot right now, rather than almost fighting for a top 3 pick. So there's levels to this, and that people don't understand. The safety of Deshaun Watson, who plays too conservative and too scared right now, or the risk taker who's not afraid to throw a pick, but when he does throw a pick, he comes right back that next drive and throws a bomb.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. And plus 2, I know this is not people's thing because people think this is stupid, but losing with Deshaun Watson was boring. It was sad, and it was disgusting. Losing with Jameis Winston, I'm having fun. I'm watching good football. The defense looks tons better. It's just more exciting. I'm on the edge of my seat now because I'm like, oh my God, Jameis is going to throw this ball 60 yards downfield. Oh my God, he hit Judy twice on massive bombs. Oh my God, so it makes me more excited to watch Jameis Winston. It's like, okay, yeah, we lost, but this game was a lot more exciting.
Yeah, it makes it more enjoyable when you don't have somebody that has
that stresses you
all
out.
all of that, but also just all of the shit that Deshaun has, all of the
that baggage.
It doesn't help as a fan. Like
No.
when you don't have that hanging over your head on top of having to just sit there and watch him play as bad as he has, it just makes it so much easier for us as fans to enjoy it, even when we're losing. Like we're losing, but at least we're scoring more than 20 points in a game. At least we are making the game interesting, and we're actually taking it to these teams. Now, listen, going into this Pittsburgh game, I don't necessarily expect us to win. I don't.
No.
We've always played pretty bad in Pittsburgh. It's usually a home to home sort of win type thing. So we won our game at home. I guarantee they're going to win their game at home. I think T.J. Watt will have a much better game. I think he'll have more of an effect on us just because, again, he just plays better at home against us. I don't know what it is. It's something in the air, but the home-to-home advantage for both teams is tremendous. And you can look at the stats all you want. Like, it's beyond true. So I don't expect us to win this game, but I do expect us to keep this game tight again. And I do expect the Browns to come out with a fire under their ass, and Winston is going to have them ready. Like that's the thing that you have with Winston. You have leadership.
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't have a guy like Watson who is quiet and to himself. And even though he says he's buddies with a lot of the guys, you can't tell. Like you can't tell. It almost just seems like it's forced because you know they have to be buddies because they're teammates. And that's just not the case. Like Winston looks like everybody enjoys being around him. And that's the type of guy you want to lead your locker room. That's the type of guy you want to lead that group of men. Because guys like, Miles, he's a good leader to a degree. He's just not the most vocal guy. Like you don't expect that out of him. You don't expect that out of a Nick Chubb. You expect that out of those guys like Jameis who are more fiery, who are more just vocal. And not every leader has to be that way. But you need somebody that is going to be the guy that is really about that action, as Jameis always says. So it's just more fun this way. It really is. And as the season ends, we'll start to get more into like our ideas and like plans that we want to see about this Browns team. And as we said before, we don't know what's going to go on with guys like AB. I mean, I think Paul D. Podesta is going to definitely be on the out, but you don't know how the coaching staff is going to look like. Like this staff could look a little new again for next year because although Dorsey hasn't been awful, the offense still struggled for a long, long time. And depending on who you're going to ride with, you have to find an OC that can make sure that they play well to that standard. So we'll see what we do here on Sunday afternoon against the Steelers. I believe it's a 1:00 game. I don't think it's a night game, is it? It's just a normal afternoon game.
Yeah, this is just a normal 1 p.m. game against the Steelers.
Cool. So yeah, I mean I don't really think there's gonna be a thing in too crazy to watch. Plus the Steelers are coming off a huge, like monstrous game by Russ against the Bengals. Now the Bengals are detrimentally terrible as well. I feel so bad for Burrow, but that defense gives up so many points. And
that offensive line is so weak too.
Russell Wilson threw for over 200 yards in the first half, and I was like, oh, this game's over. There's no fucking shot. Like Jamar Chase can have a game like Jerry Jeudy has, and they're still going to lose by 2 touchdowns minimum because of how bad that defense is. Absolutely. Joe Burrow can do all he wants, but that's not going to happen. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the Browns still have a few games left. We still have about a month left to play. So, anything can happen, but we're obviously not playing for a playoff. That's not even close. But if you get to mess with some of the division and sort of the placement in the division, then that's dope. But
Yeah.
the Browns are playing for pride. And again, I know we lost last night or the other night, but we're at least playing with it, with a little more pride. And
Yeah.
it's just more fun that way.
Absolutely. And I've heard this now being talked all day today in different sports shows, but the question is really, what do you do with Deshaun Watson? Because it's clear and obvious you can't really drop him because you don't want that cap hit. So,
but it's clear that you can't continue with him either.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and the biggest consensus I've heard was you keep him on the roster, you make him the third, fourth string quarterback, and you use him as a practice squad dummy.
Yeah.
And what you do with that, you allow him to come to the facility, don't get near the players, let him go to the very far side field with the undesirables,
Yep.
let him practice with those guys over there, and then he goes to the locker room, changes, and goes home. And then on game days, the staff will say, "Listen, you're staying home. You're not coming to the games either. You're staying home. We don't want you at the facility. We don't want you in the suites. We don't want you anywhere near this team.
Yep.
We don't want you near the locker room. We don't want you talking to the players because we don't want you hurting what we have.
Yep.
We don't want you hurting our locker room presence. We don't want you to do anything detrimental to that could lose us games.
Yeah.
So your ass is going to sit there, practice with the practice squad, and go home. And that's your daily life for the next year or 2 years until you're out of contract. Yeah. Until then, you're just going to collect your paycheck, and that's it. And hell, they might not even have him show up to the facility. They just might tell him to stay home from practice. They'll just keep him on the roster, but just don't show up at all. Just stay home, collect your paycheck, and don't even bother.
Or you can just continue to put him on IR for the entire year next year and just be like, hey, you're not close to being ready. Like, we're not having you come out till you're even remotely ready. And if you really want to be traded, fine. But we're going to make the team eat a lot of their cap because you're hurt. Like, we're not paying somebody it's not going to play for us. Because then if you put them on IR, you at least have the injury incentive or whatever hell they have, where it's like a insurance policy on them. They have it was like a $20+ million policy on him every year, I think, or it's something like that. But there's also great guys to look at on like Twitter and stuff. Jack Duffin, that dude is a cap wizard. Like if I want anybody to replace AB, I honestly want Jack, because when it comes to contracts, that dude is elite, and he's always good at just predicting what AB is probably going to do. So it's really, really funny. But I do want to move into the more depressing part of the show, but more of a rant part of the show. So before we get into it, I do want to make a quick shout out to the TikTok video that I put out on the Just BSN podcast TikTok. If you guys haven't already followed us on there, it's just BSN pod on TikTok. I posted a rant shortly after the live stream because you and I were live for the entire game, and you guys can go watch that as well. It's like a 3.5 hour stream, and you guys can see the ups and downs that I went through throughout that fourth quarter. When Jack Sawyer threw the pick or got that pick back in the end zone, I was screaming so loud the microphone wasn't even like picking up my yelling when I watched it back. So I was hyped, and just for all that to go down the way it did, it was crazy. But the reaction video that I had, it was about a 6.5 minute video. It's currently sitting at around 33.2 or 33.3K views, over 1,400 likes, and the majority of the comments were a lot of that Team Up North fans, and a lot of them were very, very chill and very, very nice, because they saw my view as more of a objective and fair view, which honestly, the whole point of the video was not going to be a slight at at them.
Yeah.
It was more a slight at Ryan Day never having this team fucking ready for this game. Dude, this is 4 years in a fucking row we've lost to Michigan. That hasn't happened since the 90s, since the Cooper days. What the fuck is up with Ryan Day in Michigan? It's like Jim Tressel facing an SEC team. It just can't happen. He gets his ass kicked every year. I mean, is he gone? Like, is this really it? Because we thought last year, after that monstrosity of an end game last year, he topped it this year.
Yeah. I think this is it, because I think the school now, I think Ohio State's looking at him like, listen, this is the 4th time you lost to Michigan. We could have fired your ass right now. But now it's national championship or bust. If you don't go out and win the Natty, then you're totally gone. Because in order to make up,
win the Natty, it's gonna be tough.
And even if you win the Natty, you're still probably gone, because we can't continue to lose to this Michigan school. We cannot lose to Michigan ever again at all. And like I said, it's for him, it's Natty or bust now. If you don't win the Natty, he is as good as gone. He's good as gone. And at the top of that list is Urban Meyer waiting to come back. Because I'm sure a lot of you out there have listened to that podcast that he was on. It's almost hinting that he wants to come back.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not even a subtle hint. It's almost like he just wants to come back. And we talked about this, and there's like skepticism from us that like we don't think he loves College Game Day too much. I don't think he'll come back and whatnot. No, he said on the pod that he was on that he pretty much wants to come back. He misses it. He wants to be back. And I think he was tired of watching us lose to Michigan over the last 4 years. Like, I gave this job to Day because I thought Day was going to be solid. And I thought he was going to replace me by beating Michigan every year. And he goes, and it's basically just like, he got his ass kicked the last 4 years. I can't watch this anymore. I can't watch Ohio State lose to Michigan every fucking year now. It's killing him as much as it's killing us. And he probably just wants to come back just so he could just beat Michigan. He don't care about everyone else.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. And that's what wins this game is that Michigan and other players only have us circled on the schedule. That's it. Listening to Ryan Day talk over the last couple of days, listening to even some of the players talk, I don't know what the fuck he did to that locker room, but they just did not want to play.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, Trevion Henderson decided to get all worshipy and holy and, full on church mode and said, oh, I never pray for my enemy. He's like, I pray for my enemy. Like, he's like, I never look at Michigan as my enemy, whatever. Like, bro, what the hell are you saying? Get off this biblical bullshit and go out there and do your fucking job. Yeah. You can stay for that biblical shit on Sundays when you have to go to church, but it's Saturday at noon. Your ass should be out there beating Michigan, not worrying about, well, you should never pray for the downfall of your enemy. I never looked at Michigan as the enemy. Brother, Michigan is the enemy. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's the biggest rivalry. It's like, this is coming from somebody who is religious. Like, I am religious. Like, I don't mind that he's being religious, but save it for Sunday. Like, or you can save it for after the game when you're like, hey man, I'm just glad everybody came out safe and whatever. That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
And like, you're going to have, people that you might have played with or just know that have played there. But man, when it's in between those white lines, you have got to play your ass off. And it's just like, guys like Will Howard, he at least cared. He didn't have the greatest game. He did not play the greatest game. Yeah. Honestly, my hot take, I think he played the rest of that game with a concussion. I think he got concussed and came back in, and he did somehow got through it. But he was clearly not himself. He was not playing the greatest, and it fucking showed. That was his worst game by far. But Ryan Day was trying. It was like he was playing to try to not to lose, and then that's what lost him the game. He committed so fucking hard to the run game, and it never went anywhere. Like, we could not get the run game going, and he just kept fucking firing it. And meanwhile, the one good drive we had, the one scoring drive that we had, was us throwing the rock and giving it to Jeremiah Smith, and he scores right before half. And at that point, I was like, okay, we are primed to have sort of a steamroll. Like this is where the domino can really start to fall for us, and it can fall in our favor. You can't put up 10 points at home against that team up north. You just can't. I don't know what Chip Kelly and Ryan Day's philosophy was in this game, but it really was just like they were trying to play not to lose, and that's what lost in the game. It was the most pitiful performance I've ever seen out of Ohio State versus that team up north, because at least that game is a lot more competitive with a lot more points being scored and some really fiery-ass guys. I'm sorry, I was pissed after that game, and I was even more pissed at the fact that those kids were fighting with the players when they were trying to plant the flag in the middle of the field. Listen, y'all fucking lost at home. Let them fucking do it, because that is how you live your fire for next year.
Yeah.
Okay? That is rivalry week. You know how many fights happened this week because of that shit? Quit doing this fucking high and mighty bullshit. You lost. Take the fucking L and move on. The fact we're even in the playoff, we get to face Tennessee. I'm not looking forward to that, by the way.
No.
I think Tennessee's going to play us very fucking well.
Absolutely.
And it's going to probably be a dogfight. But if Ryan Day plays better against Tennessee than he did against Michigan, I just think he's throwing the Michigan games. And to OSU fans, we don't give a fuck about these playoffs right now. We were so mad at the freaking Michigan game. We don't even care where we're at. At least guys like Urban Meyer he understood what this game meant. And he even said it on the podcast. It was a weird thing that he did where he came in at the beginning of the year and he went to every coach and he said, do you believe that you are the best coach at your position? If you are not, I can sign your release pay papers. I can send you where you think you need to go. Because there's plenty of programs that you don't need to be the best. But when you coach at a high-level place like in Ohio State and Alabama, Georgia, you better be the best. You better be at the top of your game, because if you are not, you're going to get eaten alive. And Ryan Day, as good of a coach as he is, he's going to go somewhere else and go have success somewhere else, and that's fine. But Ohio State needs a guy that, first of all, is Ohio bred. I don't know why, but there was a comparison of different records of head coaches that are from Ohio, like Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer, who I think have a combined 1 or 2 losses against against Michigan. Urban Meyer never lost to Michigan. Fickle lost to Michigan, and I think Tressel might have lost his first year.
Yeah, he lost his first year. Then
he went on a tear.
Yeah, he won a tear because we won all throughout the 2000s. We won all throughout basically the 2010s with Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer went 9-0 against that team up north. That's insane.
I think before our first loss against Michigan, our last loss to them was an 0-2 or something, which I think was Tressel's first season as head coach.
The last loss that we had prior to that big winning season was the year that Tressel left, and it was Luke Fickle. He lost. Okay. He lost with Braxton Miller. I think he was a freshman or a sophomore.
So that was
year.
2010, 2011 or something.
Like that. That's circa.
Oh yeah, because you're right. Because I remember it was when we first lost to Michigan in 21. It was a decade. It was the first time in 10 years Ohio State lost to Michigan or something.
Because when Urban came back, we were still going through the bowl. That first year, we were suspended from bowl games because of the Tressel shit.
The Tressel tattoos.
The tattoos, which nowadays is fucking. They should give Trussell back those wins, and they should give him back that bowl game win that we had against Arkansas. I think it was like a Sugar Bowl win or something like that. It was back when it was still the BCS era.
Yeah.
They should give him back on that. But the point is, Ohio guys have an insane fucking record, and everybody that has not been an Ohio bred head coach for us has a dreadful record against Michigan, because Ohio guys get it. That's why it's got to be one of four guys. We talked about this before the show. One of four guys. Obviously, Urban's one. I think Brian Hartline deserves a shot. I think Mike Vrabel obviously deserves a shot with how great he is. And then Marcus Freeman for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Who currently has them as a top 4 or top 5 school right now in the country, in the playoff right now too. Actually, I think they're like 3rd or 4th, because I think Penn State's 5th. They're a great school, and Freeman has gotten them better every single year. And Notre Dame has not always had the best players, but he is getting them better, and he's very young. Players like him. But again, if you can get an Ohio-bred guy, my friend, even a Nick Saban would do fucking better at this point. Jesus
absolutely.
Christ. Ryan Day has worn his fucking shit dry. It's ridiculous.
Notre Dame right now is in 4th place.
Yep.
And Georgia's 5th. Penn State's 3rd. So, but like you said, I'm all on board with those 3 coaches. Because, again, like you said, they're Ohio bred. They played for Ohio State. They know what it means to win this game. They know what it takes to win this game. And this is a game that they're going to schedule on their calendar. Now, I saw something that Ryan Day is 45-1 against schools not named Michigan. 45-1. That one loss coming to Oregon this year.
Yeah.
Insanity. 1-4 against fucking Michigan, but 45-1 against anybody else. So he's like the big like lion against any other team, but then he turns into like a little cub against Michigan.
And who was, I forget who it was that said in a tweet, but it was during one of Ryan Day's first years. Actually, it might have been his first or second year when we played Alabama in the national championship game. I think it was the year that Devonta Smith got hurt that year.
Yeah.
During the game or something. But somebody who played on that team, he was a former DB, said that at halftime, Ryan Day didn't even talk to the players. He went straight to the coaches and basically bitched out every coach.
Yeah.
Meaning he's not even taking accountability, and he's not holding the players accountable as well. He's just yelling at the coaches. It's like
he's trying to get the blame off of him.
Yeah, and he has done that quite a bit, and I'm just sick of it. I'm tired of it. I think this game,
loser.
And obviously you can't get rid of him right now because A, you still have the playoffs to play, and 2, you still have signing days coming up. You can't lose recruits. The only way that you don't lose those recruits is if you have a legit guy in the making within 24 hours of firing him. Sort of like what Alabama did with their current coach, which, by the way, Alabama getting in the playoff
is ridiculous.
It's a 3-loss team is fucking bullshit.
Losing to the worst teams too. Losing to teams that don't even have
They lost to Vanderbilt this year.
They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to another team that was like 6-5 or some shit.
Yeah, I forget who all it was. Alabama. Actually, I'm gonna look at it right now.
I can pull it up. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Tennessee, and they lost to Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a team that was 6-5, and they lost by 21 to Oklahoma, who was 6-5.
I mean,
it's ridiculous. And they just lost, like they barely lost to Vanderbilt, and they barely lost to Tennessee. Great, but you lost to 21 to
Georgia,
and you lost to 21 to Oklahoma, who was 6-5.
Yeah.
Like, you should not be in the college football playoff. You should not even be 11th. You should not even be
Oklahoma
mentioned.
Smoked them.
Oklahoma destroyed them. And they started, and in the Auburn game, I think they struggled to start that game too.
Yeah, they did. But the funny part is they beat Georgia and then lost to Vanderbilt that next week and then barely beat South Carolina. They barely
Yeah.
beat them. And then Tennessee whoops them. And then they beat up on Missouri, beat up LSU, fucking Mercer's, fucking whatever the fuck. And then Oklahoma. And then they barely beat Auburn. There's no way they survive the playoffs in the first round. There's no way.
Because I think you can look at kind of like the college football playoff predictor or whatever, and it'll show you like who plays or whatever. I could take a look, but let me see. NCAA playoff predictor or whatever. Or well, more so bracket. Because I forget who they were supposed to play. I know we would, like you said, we would get Tennessee.
Yeah, the playoff bracket's all so it's already confirmed.
So Alabama would most likely play Notre Dame.
Yeah, so this isn't a most likely. This is a like the bracket set.
This would be right now because obviously the bracket will be completely set until the championship games are done this weekend.
Yeah.
So, but as of right now, Ohio State would play Tennessee, and then the winner would play Oregon. Arizona State would be playing Penn State. Alabama would play Notre Dame, and Indiana would play Georgia. And then Oregon, Texas, SMU, and Boise State would have the byes, which is crazy because like SMU and Boise State get a bye because one's in the fucking Mountain West and the other's in like some random ass conference, which is beyond crazy to me that they get a first round bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as it looks, and you know what? I kind of like how they're doing it for the first round, where it's like Alabama goes to Indiana to play like Notre Dame because you're coming up here in the middle of December, and you're coming up to like northern Indiana, and same with like Tennessee coming up to Columbus. And it's like, are you ready for a foot of snow and cold ass weather? Because right now, let's take a look because the University of Tennessee is in what, like Knoxville, Tennessee, or some shit. Or are they in Nashville?
It might be Knoxville.
Let me take a look.
But still, even with the current playoff structure, I'm pretty sure we are somehow a higher seed than them.
We are. So, it is in Knoxville. We would get well, that's what I mean. We'll get the home game.
Yeah.
So right now in Knoxville, it's about 50 degrees. And it's going to be in the mid to high 40s and 50s. They're going to have a day where it goes back up into the 60s. And then back, obviously going back into the 60s. But, I mean, like Columbus, fucking like 30s and 20s. And it's essentially what it is like up here in the north. So, Tennessee is gonna have to find a way to brave the cold because even in the winter, they're still in like the 50-degree kind of mark. So it's not like terribly cold.
Right.
So we'll see how they perform, man. But they get to come up here and face us and see if they can brave out the 20-degree weather.
Yep.
And the snow, because a lot of snow's coming in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Man, I'm not going to look forward to it tomorrow. I know that much.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have too much more to talk about when it comes to Ohio State, so we might as well just get to the picks.
Let's do it. I will share the screen.
How did we do last week? Because I think I think we both did pretty fucking well.
We both did really well. I went 15-1.
and I went 14-2.
You went 13-3.
Mm.
Because the game I got wrong and we both got wrong together was the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. And then you got wrong the Tennessee-Washington game, and then obviously the Cleveland game.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you had Tennessee beating Washington, and then you had Cleveland obviously winning Monday night.
Nice.
But I went 15-1. You went 13-3. So that puts us at a total of you're at 116.64. I am at 111.69.
Oh, you're catching up. He's catching up, y'all.
You gave me 2 games here.
Nope.
So, all right, it's time to get into week 14. So, starting off with the Thursday night game, and this is going to be a fun one, Green Bay versus Detroit.
This is going to be a fun one. And this is actually, so I've been very much on the Detroit bandwagon all season long. I think they're still one of the best teams. I will say they're starting to lose some guys on that defense, and I'm wondering when it's going to start collapsing on them. Green Bay is a very solid team. Detroit is at home, so I'm gonna give it to Detroit.
Okay,
but fuck me, I will not be surprised if Green Bay wins this game. They're just a solid all around team. They're playing great ball. Jordan Love's playing great, but they have a great defense, and the offense is doing a lot better. With sort of Josh Jacobs being sort of the main point there, and then the receivers are just sort of starting to fit in. Like, I don't know, it's just a well-oiled machine. They're playing well, so I would not be surprised if they squeak this one out, considering Detroit's injuries. But this offense is just fucking dirty, man. Like, there's not a lot of teams that can really compete with this offense right now.
Yeah, I went with Detroit as well. Like you said, the concern is the guys they lost on defense.
Yeah,
but that offense is so freaking good, dude.
So good.
It's so good, and I don't even know if it matters.
No.
Because that offense will just score points. I mean, they dropped 50, twice this season already?
Yeah.
So I don't
2
think
or 3 times, I think, actually.
Yeah, I don't think it fucking matters for these guys. So I got Detroit. Like you say, it wouldn't be surprising if Green Bay did come and win this game because of those injuries, but Detroit's good enough to keep up with anybody. I think Detroit's the best team in football right now, to be honest with you.
But the Bears did play them really well.
The Bears played them really well.
No.
But that always happens.
2 Thursday night games for them back to back. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, funny enough. Yeah. The Jets and Dolphins.
Jets are playing so badly. I mean, I think it'll be a better game for them, but Dolphins all the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. The Jets are in absolute turmoil.
Yeah.
It's the Dolphins all the way. The Jets are going to blow everything up and probably start all over again. All right. Atlanta and Minnesota.
Atlanta's just, they're playing bad. I mean, Kirk threw like 4 picks last week.
Yeah.
He had a really rough game. And again, I know Bijan's tearing it up still, but
that doesn't matter.
The Vikings are actually a really good defensive team as well.
They're the number 1 defense in the NFL.
And the offense is flowing now. Aaron Jones is getting back in it, in it more. I know Jay Jetta had a good week last week, but like, there's just a lot of guys to throw to there, man. It's a good team.
TJ Hawkinson's back too,
and he's playing a lot better now.
Yeah, so there's more weapons for Minnesota. Jay Jettas and Jamar Chase are the only 2 receivers above 1,000 receiving yards just now, and they both crossed that threshold this past week.
Right.
So, I mean, there's just nothing going for Atlanta this year. So I will say Minnesota.
Yeah.
New Orleans and the Giants.
This is a fucking turd fest.
This is a turd fest.
I'm gonna say the Saints, just because they have like Kamara.
Yeah.
But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Lock puts it together. I mean, it is at home. But I'm gonna go Saints.
I went with the Saints because it's just.
It's gonna be a weird game, though.
It's gonna be an awfully weird game, but this is just the battle of mid, dude.
Yeah.
Like these are 2 mediocre ass teams, and it's just who's less mid. So I went with the Saints. I think they're a little bit more competent. They could probably do a lot with Taysom Hill, like they did against us. that would kind of screw over the Giants. And obviously, Alvin Kamara is one of the best backs in the league.
Yeah.
Carolina and Philly.
Philly is going to win this game, but I will say Carolina I think is going to play better. Bryce Young's playing outstanding, man. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him. But the Eagles are just a fucking they're just a nasty team right now. They really are starting to play some of the best ball among most of these teams. So
yeah.
Philly.
Yeah, I went with Philly too, just because again, Philly, one of the better teams in the NFL. Carolina's been struggling, but Bryce Young has started to figure it out more, and he's been playing really well. But that Carolina defense just has nothing.
Yeah,
that defense is awful. So give me Philly. Then it's us. Hooray! Browns and Steelers.
So I just decided to check the weather report for Pittsburgh. It's going to be a high of 50, no rain, a little bit of wind, 10 to 15 miles an hour. So a little wind for kicking. But Pittsburgh's at home. As I said earlier, we don't really fare well against them at home. Yeah. I think we're going to lose this game. I just hope Jameis doesn't have quite as bad of a game as he had this past week. Less picks. But I feel like TJ Watt's going to give us a taste of Myles Garrett's medicine from a few weeks ago. Hopefully, hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm going Pittsburgh.
I went with Pittsburgh too, just because of the fact that they're at home. Like you said, TJ Watt revenge game. It makes me scared. And unless Jameis can limit the picks to 1 pick six instead of 2, and not have 3, then I think Jameis could keep us in the game and do really well. But I don't see.
Just don't give up a pick 6. If you want to throw 2 picks, that's fine. Just don't let him return it.
Yeah,
that's all I ask.
So, but yeah, I think the defense is going to play a lot better than they did last time. I mean, last time was a dumpy snow game for them. So, yeah, I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raiders and Buccaneers.
Bucks.
Yeah, it's the easiest one too. There's no need to explain. It's just Bucks.
No.
Jacksonville and Tennessee.
Titans win this game. Jacksonville just put Trevor Lawrence on IR after that nasty hit that he took.
Yeah.
And now it's back to Mac Jones. There is no way Jacksonville wins a single game the rest of the year.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I went with Tennessee just for the same reasons. Will Levis is also playing a bit better too.
Oh yeah.
So, and then Westbrook Ilkine has been a good.
I'm starting him in one of my leagues. That Westbrook kid.
Yeah,
because I have to.
But I mean, he's been playing solid over the last couple of weeks, so yeah. I don't think it's a bad start. Seattle versus Arizona.
I'm going Seattle here. Kyler Murray is starting to slow down a little bit. He's starting to make some more mistakes. I know Marvin Harrison had a pretty good game last week, and I know they did win last week, but they barely won. They started that game really rough. I just think Seattle's a little bit better of a defensive team, and they have enough on offense to make this game in their favor. But the Cardinals are at home. Fuck. You know what? I'm going Cardinals.
Okay. Change it up. Okay.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going Cardinals.
All right. I went with Seattle. Yeah, I just think Kyler Murray has slowed down quite a bit, and it's been very up and down for him. So I just don't see how you can just keep going up and down and just be so inconsistent. Mm-hmm. So I went with Seattle. Buffalo and the Rams.
Buffalo, man, they're on a fucking tear.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
The Rams are playing better and they are at home, but Josh Allen in a dome, that just
scares the life out of everyone.
That smells like a disaster for the Rams.
Absolutely. I thought the same way. Buffalo in a dome. You're just lucky it's not Buffalo in the snow still.
Right.
Chicago and San Francisco. Is that the next one? Chicago, San Fran.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going Chicago.
Wow.
Obviously they just came off firing Eberflus, but San Fran just lost CMC and they just lost Jordan Mason as well, both the IR. I don't know if they're gonna have Brock Purdy, but even if they do, man, it's gonna be rough for them. I don't expect San Fran to be much better this year. I don't expect them to win many more games. The Bears played Detroit really well last week, and I think now that Eberflus is gone, I think it's gonna help them. And I also don't think they have Nick Bosa playing as well. I think he's still out. So if so, that's really going to help the Bears case. But I'm going to give it to the Bears this week.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check that Nick Bosa injury real quick too, just in case.
Even even if he is playing, I'm still going Bears.
Yeah, from 5 days, 5 days ago would have been before Sunday, but it's kind of just looking like he's been staying sidelined during practice this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he plays. And for Brock Purdy, because that would at least make some difference if Brock Purdy played. Again, it doesn't really say anything about Brock Purdy being injured. It says more about they're just talking more about his contract.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming with that he's most likely going to play at this point. And I think the San Francisco defense is just too good to give up too much at home. So I know Eberflus just got fired, but I also don't. It's a brand new guy. I don't know what he has, and I don't know if I trust what he has.
Yeah.
I forget who the interim is, but I went with the safety net. I went with San Francisco. Chargers and Kansas City. I looked at the weather for this game too, just in case, because I know it's in KC.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be about the same as the Pittsburgh weather. It's going to be about 50, mid 50s, like kind of like partly cloudy skies, some wind, but it's not going to be cold or anything really. So it's going to be a solid day, at least decently.
I'm going to go Chargers. Their defense is nasty. And I know Herbert doesn't have a whole lot. Actually, they don't have JK.
They don't have JK, but they still have everyone else healthy though.
I know, but it's still not. Damn it. I'm gonna go KC. I'm gonna go KC.
I thought you were joining me.
But I will not be surprised if the Chargers do win this game because the defense is good enough to make Pat Mahomes make some mistakes, and he might.
And that's why I went with the Chargers. I went with the Chargers because the defense has been insane for the Chargers. And the way Mahomes has been playing this year, he has not looked the best. He hasn't looked like an MVP candidate. He hasn't looked spectacular at all.
He's getting better as the season progresses, but yeah,
he
started the year very, very rough.
He started the season very rough, and he's still very turnover prone. Yeah. And this is a defense that's known to get turnovers.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think he's going to
pressure. Yeah.
I think they can get a fumble, and I think they can get maybe a pick or two out of Mahomes in this game.
Yeah, they might.
So I went with the Chargers because their defense has been elite this season. If they have been, again, like a top 3 defense this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're scared of Kansas City.
No.
I think they can win this game.
I mean, Herbert always plays him well.
And Herbert always plays him well, too. Yeah, he's always had good stats against Kansas City. Yeah. So, I went with the Chargers. And I thought you were
Quentin Johnson didn't suck so badly, I would have picked them. But I was like, fuck, man, this guy's going to have like 3 or 4 drops. I guarantee it.
Yeah. All right, Monday Night Football. Bengals versus Cowboys.
Dallas. They're at home. They've been looking better. And even the defense is playing a little better. I know the Bengals have an outstanding offense, but dude, they gave up 41 points against the Steelers offense, who's not like a high-powered offense at all. Najee Harris looked like a Pro Bowler in that game this weekend. I will not be surprised if Dallas puts up 30 plus points on them just because of how bad that defense is. So I'm gonna go Dallas.
Yeah, when I did this back beforehand, I kind of went back and forth on it because I was like, man, the Bengals offense could score like 41 on any given day, but their
They
defense
can drop 50 and their defense will give up 51.
60. Yeah, their defense will give up 60. And it doesn't even matter who they're playing against and who the quarterback is. They'll give up 60 no matter what. So I went with Dallas just for that reason because I think this is the year Zach Taylor finally gets fired. I think they're going to be like the Browns. I think they're going to miss out on the playoffs. I think Zach Taylor gets fired because they're tired of losing. There's no way you make the Super Bowl and then in your first year with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and then you somehow stay as the head coach, and then you don't make the playoffs for fucking 2 more years.
Right.
Like you missed the playoffs the last 2 years. I don't see how you do that. And I think this is a game where they lose, they miss a third in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to win to stay alive. Otherwise, if they lose this game, they're eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went with Dallas just because Rico Dowdle has been outstanding for that run game.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as CD Lamb even just puts up any numbers, it's over. So, yeah, give me Dallas because that defense is god-awful in Cincinnati. Yeah. It's horrendous.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, all right, that's it for the pick'ems.
Sweet.
So, it's now or never. Can I catch up to Zach before the season's over?
We will see. I definitely had enough different picks from you to really either set me apart or get you that much much closer to me. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we have about 3 games where we're separated because I have Seattle, you have Arizona, I got San Fran, you got Chicago, and I got the Chargers, and you got KC.
Let's go. All right, cool, awesome. Well, hey man, you got anything else before we get off tonight?
No, man. I will say just continue to say go Cavs because
it's the only thing good.
It's only getting good. We haven't talked about the Cavs in a while, so maybe next week we'll talk about some Cavs next week.
Yeah, and listen, the Cavs are still playing really good. They're 17-3 right now. They just came off a big win, but I mean they beat the shit out of Washington. You know,
and
they're the worst team.
Well, they also came off a big win against Boston too.
Yeah.
So there's a big win. So
yeah, I mean they're still killing it. So yeah, we will definitely discuss them next week. Now especially with Ohio State starting to slow down. So be on the lookout for that. But as always, we will see you guys next week. Stick around for the TikTok and all of that because we are always going to post more content, more content there. So keep it locked in. We'll see you guys next time.